Welcome to Driven, the Unscripted Success podcast, with your hosts, Mike Menino and Nariman Hamden, bringing you insights and stories on achieving personal, professional, and financial success.
Hi, everybody. It's Michael Menino, and welcome to Driven, Unscripted Success podcast. And today on the podcast, we're interviewing professionals who share their experience with you, the audience, and how they got to where they're at today. And zooming from the beautiful island of Columbia, South Carolina, we have Oakley. That is a great name, Oakley Dickson. How you doing, young man?
Good, man. How are you?
Better than I deserve.
Awesome.
Old and out of date, but hey, listen, I'm loving it.
Yeah.
So Oakley, that is a very unique name. We talked a little bit off camera. Who are you named after? Where did that come from?
I actually named after my dad. I have his initials, and I go by Oakley. Have since the 1970s. It was around the family. My grandmother always told me it's like one of her great uncles or something, I think, had the name way back, probably in the 40s and 50s, and so here I am with the name Oakley.
That's great. Most people probably think you own a sunglass company.
Yeah. I worked in Hilton Head on the beach in college, and people walk up and make that joke. And I was like, look, if I was one of the guys who were part of that company, I'd be chilling in Malibu, not in Hilton Head, probably living there.
Be chilling in Malibu.
Yeah.
That's awesome. So do me a quick favor. We off camera, we got a breakdown of what you've done. You've had a very unique life. Could you tell everybody where you came from and where you're at now?
So I'm from South Carolina. I grew up here. I'm fourth generation shoe cobbler, crafter. My family's been in the business pre-1960. My grandfather and grandmother started in 1960 after my grandfather retired from 25 years of life insurance. Back in those days, people didn't really go to college, but he'd gotten into life insurance. And then once he retired from that in his mid-40s, about my age right now, he jumped into the shoe business, and my family's been in it now. My son now is fifth generation of it. He does it. And so, been here a long time, went away to college in Virginia, never thought I'd get back in the family trade. Started the shop in 2003 and kind of took a little hiatus working with high school students for a while, but then now I'm back in the business over the last 3 years.
We talked a little bit off camera about the work you did with high school kids. Yeah. I asked a really weird question at the end. Tell everybody what you did, and then I'm going to ask the question again.
So the organization I ran for a number of years coming out of COVID. Right, I entered it right before COVID, helped them get through COVID, and then stopped running that since I took over the shop. But basically, it was an after-school based organization working with high school students, and so those students will come every walk of life. We work with 19 high schools, public, private schools. Some students were actually homeschoolers, but it was a very diverse group of students, socioeconomically, and also it's 50-50. Caucasian students to students of color. And so all of that, those students together for one full school year, they get trained in the arts, they get trained in, nonprofit space. They would, do legislation in the state house. We train them how to run their own businesses during the month of February, where those students, 36 students, would do nearly between $20,000 and $30,000 worth of business in about 4 weeks. And that was start to finish. And we trained them how to do that. We didn't train them in finances, so they know good credit, bad credit. Like, hey guys, when you guys want to be 30 years old, where do you want to be, and show them the path to get to those places as a young person, 9th and 10th graders. Then they'd end in professions, and now, these students now, gosh, they're all over the country working for some of the best corporations. We have some of those alumni now are DC working, some of them here working in the state house. So it's a pretty powerful organization. So yeah.
Here's the question I asked afterwards, and I want everybody to hear the answer. Why don't they teach that in school instead of after school?
That's a great question.
It is.
Schools in Lexington County, which you're familiar with.
Yes, very much so.
My kids went through that, which is one of the best public school systems in the country. During COVID, we had families moving there from California, New York, New Jersey, everywhere, letting their kids go through that path because the schools are really good. So that superintendent, who now is over at Midlands Technical College, he met with me right before I stepped down to take this over and asked, what can we do to get more of our students into that process? Because, it's a very unique thing because students are coming from all different communities and everywhere to work together. But he was like, man, if I could just get these students, all my students, just to go through the interview process, to be, fill out application, come to that building and get interviewed by top professionals in like a big corporate building across from the State House, like just that process will be enough to like give them a chance to get a feeling for it. But it's a great question because a lot of young people today could really use that type of training. Real world training is what we called it. Northeastern University in Boston had a branch in Charlotte. They did a study on the organization during COVID, and coming out of it, basically labeled as one of the best, probably the best after school and experiential learning program anywhere in the country at the time. So it was pretty cool.
How do they do that in school? I mean, it blows my mind.
Well,
Like
here's the
the
thing.
trade school
It's
is like
not,
what you do.
the idea is not about, it's the same way here in my shop, right? I was interviewed earlier by a student at Carolina about 2 o'clock. And I have young people here that are training to be young cobblers who could literally do this the rest of their life. They love it, but it's the hands-on. I always say the best thing for young people is exposure and experience. You put them in the real world environments, let professionals come beside them, let them experience in real time, and those students will literally walk away changed. And that's, I mean, we had one young lady from Lower Richland High School. If you know anything about Lower Richland High School, it's a pretty impoverished area, pretty tough neck of the woods. But that young lady came through. She saw Dr. Bino at the end of the year, and she thought, you know what? She goes, I'm African American, he's African American, he can be a doctor, I can be a doctor. That young lady went on to go to West Point. She was one of 32 African American young ladies to graduate West Point. But what was interesting is her interaction with some of the private school students who were affluent, and her interaction with some of those white kids who were in that organization that year. When she went to West Point, she was totally comfortable. Some of the other students struggled. She excelled. Now she's finishing up MUSC Charleston, become a medical doctor for the military. But it's because she caught a vision that she can go and do this. She experienced it in real time, and then she went on, and now she's gonna be a doctor.
That is phenomenal. That is
lots of stories like that. Yes.
But why doesn't school teach that?
That's a great question.
I don't think ancient Peru is going to help me out in any time in my life, but the experience of what work is in the United States would probably help me out. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I'll say this. So me growing up in family business, all of my family pretty much, were entrepreneurs. I grew up in my grandmother's shop, which is like this, but she was in a county about an hour away. Shop still exists. But being a young person growing up in that shop, I mean, all summer I'm working, weekends, Saturdays I'm there at the shop, but it's interacting with people, it's selling shoes, it's, doing money, like all of this stuff, being able to do, sales tax in your head, this type stuff, shaking people's hands, meeting people from every walk of life, which I do here in my shop. And so that type of experience for young people is so important, but I grew up with it. I didn't get trained in college to do that. Of course I went to business school, but having that practical experience, I talk about her all the time and how she trained me and all that stuff growing up. And it's like having that hands-on experience for young people is really important today. So that's why I love having young people interested in the business to work with me now that are here. One's already graduated SCAD down in Savannah. One's still a student here at Carolina. Interviewed another today who might come in and help us, run front and do retail, things like that. Because them getting practical experience is way more important than trying to sit in a classroom, hearing somebody talk about it versus going to where they are and experience that in real time.
So I know I've been a builder, flipper, and multifamily investor for the last 30 years. And in the building trades, in the last, 10, 15 years, they've been getting rid of the adult education in trades. And I'm like, why would you be doing that?
Right.
That is the worst possible thing you could do.
Yeah, which is a huge need right now. The trades are taking off. I mean, I'm in a trade now. I mean, this is a trade that many will say is like a dying art, but to be honest, we're in a niche market in the country. I mean, the guys that are doing work like myself up in DC and New York and different places, we're thriving. People are shipping in from across the country to our little places because of the quality work that we do. So it's pretty interesting how it's playing out.
They said the new millionaires will be in the trades and working with their hands.
I'll tell you this. My grandfather retired after 25 years of life insurance. 2003, I was going to take over his shop in Sumter, South Carolina. It's a big Air Force town, right? So my grandfather told me in 2003 over lunch, he said, listen, I made more money in shoes than I ever made in life insurance.
That's what I'm trying to illustrate. And people don't understand that. The new millionaires will be plumbers, electricians, heating, cooling guys.
Correct. I know a lot of young people that I had. Actually, one came in and worked on my air conditioning here in our building a couple of weeks ago. Former student of mine. And now, dude, they're paying these kids like $150 an hour or something. Like they're charging $2 to $225 an hour. Right. And even like $100 to $150 an hour. I'm like, what?
Yes.
Like, oh yeah. He's like, I'm doing well. He said, he owns his own home. His wife and him are doing well. They have kids. I mean, his kid's like around 30 years old and he's already successful. And like, it's amazing. And it's a trade. HVAC.
Yeah, it's working with your hands, and
Right.
that's the new hotness. It really is.
Yep.
Hey, listen, do me a favor. Tell me a time or challenge that you had to overcome in your career.
Since being back in the trades here, I tell my
Any part, anything. One of the most challenging things that you had to overcome. Doesn't even have to be with work.
sometimes I think what happens is, so I'm as a leader, I'm known as a jumper. So,
Mhm.
I've been good at growing things. I'm a builder, right? And I jump towards opportunities. I think coming from families that, both my grandfathers were entrepreneurs, right? My other grandfather was in the banking world, and then he, started a business that succeeded forever, and he sold it, did well. So I've always kind of been around it. But sometimes, like even right now, like what I was talking to my team about this week is, this business for us is taking off. We're right now today. We just had the best month we've had since I took shop over 2.5 years ago. So we're a record month right now in a
Congratulations.
crazy economy. And so that's very exciting because so for me, there's like opportunities and threats. Like opportunity is great. The business is growing. It takes care of me. It takes care of you guys. We can serve people and do well. But the threat of that is people with their stuff. And so sometimes you get in this weird spot where you're doing really well, but at the same time, maybe it's not fast enough. People have like unspoken expectations. They're already creating these expectations on you. You didn't promise anything, but just what they're expecting. Because in my business now, back in the 80s in like say New York City, you could go into a cobbler shop and they would say, you could get soles and heels on yours in like an hour, hour and a half. You could sit there and wait for it. We don't have time for that because the quality work that we're doing, we're not that kind of thing. So what it was, 20, 30 years ago is not what it is today. We're changed in the quality of work that we do and how we do what we do. But people are remembering, oh, well, back in the day, we get it this fast or that fast. I'm like,
Hmm.
yes, but you know what? I'm honest with them now. So I'm like, listen, our shop has over 4,000 customers in this tiny little shop, and that their eyes go up. And I'm like, okay, so we're trying to serve you and all the other 3,000 plus clients that come into our shop and get our work. And then they change their whole tune. So
Yeah. Well, you got to get. So I learned communication is you have a 3x5 card of a chair, and you have 3x5 card. Your customer has a 3x5
right.
card of a chair. Mine might be blue and have three legs, and yours might be beige and have the studs on it around the skull. It's
Right.
two different. You got to make sure that card's the same when they leave, and everybody has the same
Yes.
expectation, which is not easy, right?
Yeah. So sometimes like what we say in our shop is sometimes our timeline and the world's timeline outside of it is
Yeah.
different places.
Yes.
So
Yes.
in here, a day is a week out there, and nobody knows the struggles of a small business owner where, this building 2 months ago flooded out from a huge rainstorm. So from front to back of my building,
Really.
it flooded through. My son calls me on a Saturday morning and says, hey, Dad, he said, the building's flooded through. I'm like, what do you mean? He's like, where did all the water come from? Oh, it came from the roof. So, nobody knows it for a couple of weeks. We had to deal with, a building that was, completely saturated
Flooded.
with water, and we had to like move things around. We actually got new shelving in over in this side of our building just to get rid of the old stuff that got, things. So sometimes, and for us, small business, we're family. And so sometimes there are things that happen for us that like that comes first, that's a priority. And so, their things have to get set aside for a minute and then we're going to come back to it. So, different little things like that. The last 2-3 years, things happen in the shop, we get out of our control. And nobody knows that. I can't message 4,000 people and say, hey guys, this is what's going on in the shop today, or this just happened. And it does affect our times.
Timeline.
Yeah, it does.
I'm sorry to hear that. Did you talk to an insurance company yet?
No, actually, what's interesting is, no, it wasn't a thing. Like we didn't, everyone's stuff was safe because whenever people's things are finished, they're all bagged in plastic. So everything is
Gotcha.
completely safe. It just so happened where water fell, it didn't affect, our clients' items
Good for you.
so we were like,
Good for you.
we were thankful that none of that happened.
Thank God.
It just dropped. Oh, it was wild. But anyways, things like that happen.
They
And,
do.
and so then you have to compensate where you have to work through it and keep going. We're still cobbling along and just making it happen. So,
There you go.
yeah.
So what is one of the skills and habits that doesn't get enough credit in your business and to your success?
Um, Ask that question again. I know you get to edit some of this.
So, yeah. So, what is one of the skills or habits that don't get enough credit in the contribution to your success?
One of the things that a lot of the things that we do is like we like to recraft things and make them better than they were new. And so what we like to do is highlight sometimes, even with, the two young people that work for us, like, people bring in something, they see the end product. So some companies like ourselves that are, they're huge in the social media world, they'll show videos and things like that of things happening. But what we like to do is we'll take photos before and after. We'll kind of place them in the same spots both times so that people can see the handiwork, the craftsmanship that we put into it, because, that's the important stuff. Like behind the scenes, you don't see. A few weeks ago when Max, the young guy who came from SCAD in Savannah, when he started, I showed a picture of Mel's at the sanding machine, sanding a pair of shoes, and he's standing over her, watching her hands. So I made a post that said, because I've had a lot of young people work for me in this shop over the years who learned the trade, but I'm like, one of the number one rule in what we do is watch my hands. If you want to learn what I do, watch my hands. So literally, if I'm sanding, if I'm cutting, if I'm hand stitching, if I'm buffing things, I don't care what I'm doing, watch my hands. And so now they emulate what we do with our hands. And like yesterday, he's on Birkenstocks for the first time, recrafting full Birkenstocks. Totally amazing. He did a pair of Gucci lady shoes the other day, all rewrapped leather, all the thing, beautiful work. And then so I posted yesterday the picture of him holding his Birkenstocks that he had almost completed so that we can celebrate. People can see this kid is literally taking these parts and components and making them new again. And so that's it. So for us, number one rule is watch my hands. And then we like to share that out there so people appreciate that this work that we do, it's a craft. We're working with our hands. We're doing that. We don't have we do have some machines in here, but a lot of it is hand done. So, and that's what we want people to appreciate.
I love the watch your hands. That is awesome. That is absolutely awesome.
Yeah.
Thinking back, you've had a very unique life. When you think back, is there any moment that really changed the game for you?
I would say when I went away, I would say two things. One is when I was in high school. So I grew up in a rural community, one flashing light in my town. I always tell people in my hometown, it used to be the dairy capital of the state. So there were I always say there's more cows than people and more chickens than cows. You know what I mean? It's a farm town. And so I grew up, very humble beginnings as a kid, and trailer in my grandmother's backyard. Like that was it. Not the grandmother in this business, but the other.
Gotcha.
So, humble beginnings. But then when I hit high school, my cousin had been working at Hilton Head in the summers on the beach, and he made a ton of money. Met guys from all over the country, girls too, go there and work. So he wanted me to join in. And so I was still like junior in high school at this point, like summer. This was like Christmas before my junior year. He, in his Christmas present to me, put an application for me to, apply to come work the summer. And I'm like, dude, I'm not going to leave all my friends for like my last summer of high school. Like, no. My mom's like, no, you're going. So I went, and my mom pushing me out to go down there. I met some of the most influential people in that time in Hilton Head on that beach. I mean, and I learned how to work with some of those folks, that some of the wealthiest people I've ever interacted with. And it was super cool serving them and learning how to do that. And so one is whenever I had that chance in high school. And two is whenever I was like one of the first ones in my family to go to college. And I went away to college in Virginia, friends from all over the world that I met. I still keep up with a lot of them. My chat group buddies are all over the country, Michigan and New York, New Jersey, like everywhere. I mean, even the dude who graduated next to me, who was with me, like we were all in the same hallway all through college. He's the CEO of a Fortune 500 company. He has the same training and business that I do. And we're all buddies, like, chat group daily. My phone blows up all day, these guys. And, so that was cool for me to have now connections all over the world, from leaving South Carolina, a little small town, to go up there and go to college. But, so the Hilton Head thing was huge. And then the other was whenever I went away to college. So, yeah.
Yeah. Big game changers.
Yes.
Has there been a book or a podcast or something that really changed the outlook in your approach in business?
Trying to think what that would be. So, yes. So when I jump back in the business, so December of 2022, is when my dad had gotten sick. He couldn't keep the business. Former student of mine took the business over for a couple months. He's actually a very successful young entrepreneur. He's done well. And so he took over the business for a few months to help my father out. And so then he decided around December he wasn't going to keep it. So I was the only one in the family who can come in and catch everything up and get there. And so I told my board, hey guys, I'm like, I have to go step away, help my family for a little while. So help behind the scenes while my dad was out and sick. My son had fallen in love with the business, and I'm giving you a long story here, but here's how we figured it out. So my son's like, Dad, take over the business, train me to be fifth generation. So I've been serving students and families for like 20 years. And so I was like, it's pretty awesome. So my grandmother trained me in her shop. I'm sitting here watching my son interact with people up front, doing the cash register, like learning the trade, the same thing that I did growing up. And so I said, if I'm getting back in this business, I have to figure out today what the business looks like. So I jumped on YouTube. I found this guy. His name's Steve Dudakis. Steve is called Beatles Leatherworks. He's in DC, Falls Church. He is the most respected cobbler in the world. Like, I start watching his videos, seeing what he does, watching his hands, seeing how to do things. I started messaging him, asking him questions on, hey man, where did you get this? And how did you do that? And he's like, who are you? Where are you coming from? Like, he had no idea who I was. Steve now is my coach. We message almost daily. He's amazing. So to see how Steve built his business, he took over from when his father passed away. His father was a cobbler from Europe who came over to US. And so then he realized, I don't need to be a shoemaker. There's a bigger need of shoe repairmen in the 80s when he was young. And so Steve grew up in it. And so watching him, and then Steve coaching me up now on price points and quality and all these things. So I've been like watching his YouTube channel. Every time he drops a post, I'm watching because I'm learning new stuff. Even, hey, I'm fourth generation of it, but the quality my family may put out or how they ran business might look different than how Steve did. And so my uncles right now literally will call me, are blown away at my business. At today, if I call them right now and I don't tell my family like what kind of money we do, but it would literally blow their minds, like how much of business, that we're generating here at the shop. And a lot of that is because of guys like Steve who take time to love on us and coach us from behind the scenes. For him, screenshotting some of my work and circle stuff and say, do this better next time. Like, he likes to beat me up, but he's coaching me up in pricing and being right and getting quality things and doing quality work. And so that, I would say Steve is the biggest part of making my business more successful today than it was 3 years ago when I took it over.
Nice.
Yes.
Listen, it sounds like things are going pretty well for you. Thinking about the future, have you ever considered ways to create income without doing so much work? Passive income.
Yeah, my son coming back out of college and others taking over and doing it, and then I get to sit back and enjoy the fruits of my labor. And the reason I jumped
franchising is what you're talking
because
about.
of my son. The other thing is, all right, so my family was all, so my grandfather, started in 1960 doing this business. He was transitioning out of life insurance. And so he would open up on Friday afternoons and Saturdays, because everybody would come to town when they got paid to go get their food for the week, to get their shoes shined, all those things, or get things repaired. So he started the business on Friday afternoons and Saturdays only when my dad was 10 years old. And so my dad then would do school all week, and on the weekends they would go and do shoes. Well, what my grandfather did was, it was always like repairs at first. But what he did was, his first thing he did was, he had this sales guy come through. You remember little white baby shoes, that are little white hard sole shoes, and when we were babies?
Oh yeah, I remember. I hated those.
Right, exactly. But he had a Kroger sack bag full of those that he bought for like a couple bucks. And on one Saturday, he sold out on all of them. So he thought to himself, I can sell shoes. I don't have to recraft shoes only. I can sell shoes out front. So my family at that point started selling shoes out front. So my grandfather back, in the 70s and 80s, he was selling Bally from Switzerland. He was selling Allen Edmonds. He was selling Johnson Murphy's. He was selling a lot of Stacey Adams, because in the Low Country, there's a lot of African-American businessmen that love Stacey Adams. And so, women's shoes as well. But that was a lot of the stuff. So when I was a kid, I was learning how to sell all that stuff, even as a kid. And so what we've had here is we never sold shoes out front. I only said I want to focus on recrafting. Well, I've had so many people coming in asking about buying. And so I've had a few women and men over the last few months say, hey, we have a closet full of shoes. slightly worn are brand new that we've never worn. I mean, these are the designer shoes. So now with this new shelving system, I told you, we're going to start selling shoes out front on consignment. Some will probably be some that I purchase, but a lot of it will be on consignment. So no cost to me as far as, retail out front, but that stuff will sell when people get the word out. And I put it on our social media that now we have new old stock or overstock type, from people's stuff consignment. They're going to come here and buy it.
That's awesome.
Yeah. So that'll give
That's a great idea.
It'll add a new revenue stream for the shop to help, take care of the young people. So, yeah.
Awesome. Well, I was going to ask you what's you got exciting for the next 6 to 12 months. That sounds like what you're doing for the next 6 to 12 months is creating the retail product up front.
Yes, if I could spin my camera and show you, you could see it, but the retail front is on the other side. So one side is all like shoe trees and the polishes and the laces and the things, and the other side is going to be, the Western boots and the dress shoes and the things like that are on the other side. But I only want to sell the items, to be honest with you, that are recraftable, things that we know that they can keep for years and years to come. I'm not into selling things that, like, our shoe industry in America right now is a throwaway society. It is, my grandmother always said when shoes went bad was in 1981 when Nike started making tennis shoes and people started to buy shoes that you throw them away. That started around 1980, that shift. And so I'm all about recraftable shoes. Even if people come in and they buy, I tell ladies that buy like the tall black boots they wear in the winter. I'm like, look, if you get them on sale at Belk or wherever you buy your shoes, make sure you read the label and it says all leather uppers, because you can keep those forever and we can recraft those for you forever. If they're all man-made materials, they're just going to fall apart and they're going to not be good for you for a long time. So, I always train people on that. So if you're buying good leather upper shoes, a lot of times we can recraft it. If it's built right, we can recraft it. So that's what I rather do. Stick around. That's our niche. We want people to keep coming back and keeping their shoes and enjoying the patina and like taking care of their things like that. That's kind of where I want to be with that. So
awesome.
Yes.
Listen, Oakley, thanks a lot for your time. We do appreciate it. Wondering if people would like to get in contact with you, how would they do that?
So we have 3 ways in which they can find us. We have a Instagram account called Dickson Brothers, Dickson Brothers. You can find us there. We also have a Facebook page, and then we also are on LinkedIn. LinkedIn I was there because of the business world and working with all the executives at the nonprofit I ran through that part of my career and education. And so now we created that over there. I think we're one of the only cobblers in America actually on LinkedIn. And so a lot of the corporate companies know us because of our work. Like, we're recognized in Europe, in England, and in Italy and all sorts of places. We're on websites over there of companies that send us product over here for us to do recrafting. So we're on some of their sites, but you can find us on our social media handles, basically.
What's the social media handle again?
It's Dickson, Dickson Brothers. And there's a Dickson Brothers out in Texas, I think, too, but we're the only ones doing the recrafting that's actually called Dickson Brothers.
Awesome. Well, listen, I can't thank you enough for your time, and we do appreciate it and appreciate your candor and experience.
Hey, man, appreciate you for having me on.
Oh, it was a pleasure. Thank you very much.
Yes.
And for everybody else, please like and subscribe. We want to get up to 10,000 followers. Thanks, guys.
Thanks for listening to Driven, the Unscripted Success podcast. Want to share your story? Apply to be a guest at drivensuccesspodcast.com/guest.